All right, FightHype.com, Sean Patel here with the father and trainer, the WBC lightweight champion of the world, Mr. Bill Haney. Bill, it's Saturday here in Vegas. I know you're at the gym watching your son, your youngest son, Sean, train. So I know you wouldn't want to do an interview on a Saturday where you're watching your son train unless you really have some things to talk about. So let's get to it, Bill.
Absolutely. Thank you always, though, Sean, and Fight Hype. You know what I mean? You guys stay on top of it.
Now, you know, there's always been talk with Devin against big opponents, but lately it's been talk with maybe some more realistic big-time opponents, guys like Jojo Diaz and Richard Commey and others. I saw Jojo Diaz.
Are these guys big-time, Sean?
What I mean?
Listen.
No, big time. Go ahead.
Big time, yeah. Well, big time means that you step up when it's time to be big. You know, and that's one thing about Devin is that, I mean, you've seen it since he's been at the beginning. I mean, we're going on our third mandatory that hasn't stood up. I mean, wouldn't you say that, Sean? I mean, we had Javier Fortuna, Ryan Garcia, and now Jojo Diaz. You know, just in terms of mandatories, and not all the other fighters that, not to mention all the other fighters and stuff that we're tied to in terms of trying to make the fight happen. You know, we also have, not to move it on too fast, but I mean, we also got Loudmouth Rolly Romero that you know, we're looking for. We know that Mayweather Promotions is looking for him. I think they are. I mean, well, I know that Devin reached out to Floyd about making that fight happen, being that Jojo Diaz seems to have everything else to do but want to negotiate for the world title. You know, we have Rolly Romero that's doing a bunch of fat mouth. So I mean, which one do you want to cut into, Sean? Which one do you want to talk about?
Well, just to clarify, I called those guys big time because they are or have been world champions. You know, in Diaz's case, an American Olympian. So it's a respect to those guys. They're top caliber fighters, and why you guys want them in the ring, right?
Trust me. Listen, I give respect to every fighter that gets in the ring. This is a tough sport. This is in the sport, you know what I mean, for choir boys. Both of them spoke out. They spoke the kind of language that constitute fighting. Jojo Diaz said that he would knock Devin Haney out. He said that prior to him asking for the Javier Fortuna fight, he asked for the Javier Fortuna fight and saying that that Devin Haney would be next. When it came time to him win a good fight, and I commended him on the fight that he won against Javier Fortuna, the first name that he mentioned was Ryan Garcia.
So the first one you want to cut into is Joseph Diaz.
Well, I mean, I'm just, you know what I mean? Any way we're going to go with it. We know that Devin is WBC world title, world champion. He holds the WBC world title. And if you talk about mandatories, well, you got to talk about the first time in history that I've known, right, in modern day, that you have three mandatories that haven't been willing to get in the ring with him.
Well, I see today that Joseph, he posted, or it was yesterday, that at this point he'll fight either guy, Ryan or Devin, just whoever's ready to accept the deal without any talking nonsense or going back and forth. What are your thoughts on that, Bill?
Well, when you talk about talking and nonsense, well, then you talk about his team who's actually talking the nonsense because they're negotiating for Ryan Garcia. So when you talk about that, then you talk about also, day before yesterday, I think you heard the interview with
New York Fights.com.
Roberto, Garcia, and I think in that one, Robert Diaz, excuse me, admitted that he hasn't reached out. He hasn't did anything to make the fight happen with Devin. He says that from a Golden Boy standpoint, it's an easier fight to make for Ryan Garcia and Jojo Diaz, when it's the total opposite. We just fought a Golden Boy fighter in Jorge Linares.
Well, what would you say then, Bill, to the fact that, okay, Ryan Garcia with his big following on social media, that you get more money fighting a Ryan Garcia, and that's why you'd want to hold out and try to exhaust that option first, make that in-house fight first before you go to Devin Haney option?
Anytime that you have a world title, and a lot of these young bucks know that who haven't had a world title in terms of Ryan Garcia you talk about Jojo Diaz having a second opportunity. In any kind of language, in any kind of contract, you always make the more money when you fight the world champion. And when you talk about fighting a guy in Devin Haney, there's no secret, you know what I mean? It's no secret that Ryan Garcia dug Devin, right? There's no secret about that, right? I mean, I see, yeah. But I'm saying is, do you, I mean, because it's easy to draw the narrative to say that you make more money fighting Ryan, but do you make more money fighting Ryan? What would make you believe that he makes more money fighting Ryan? Because that's what you just said.
A belief, and I don't know what the numbers are. I'm not in no contract. Nothing,
you don't know,
but
Sean.
what they,
you don't know.
But
you don't know.
They would say he has a bigger. He has a bigger social media following, and so some people would speculate that translates to more tickets sold, more viewership, more money. But I don't know if that's necessarily true.
Absolutely, Sean. You don't know for sure.
Right.
You don't know for sure. When you talk about a viewership and a social media presence, well, then you talk about YouTube and you talk about Devin, who has more YouTube videos than any fighter you can name. Whether it be Ryan Garcia, whether it be Jojo Diaz, whether it be whoever. So when you talk about a presence in the social media, I mean, which one? Are we just only going to go on Instagram, or are we going to go on on social media in general? And using the platform that you're accustomed to using, which is the YouTube. So you'll see what that fight will bring. That fight is a fight that Ryan Garcia has said would be his toughest fight. Who said that he's saving it for last? So it must be the money fight. You know what I mean? And when you talk about Jojo Diaz coming in and being offered a Devin Haney fight, if you felt that Devin Haney was the weaker of them, then you get 2 for 1. You knock off Devin and then you go ahead and go to Ryan. But we know that that's not the case. And we know that it's reporters that are driving narratives to say that would be more of a money fight, right? But I happen to disagree. I know that anytime that you get someone with the following that Devin has, that's from a different audience that Ryan shares and also Jojo Diaz shares. When you talk about the audience of Jojo and Ryan, they share the same audience. So when you talk about Devin, he's also bringing a different audience, right? And when you talk about bringing those two together, you talk about bringing Devin Haney and Ryan, or Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz, you talk about a blockbuster event.
What do you think would be, and thank you for breaking that down, Bill, what do you think would be a good time frame for Devin Haney versus Jojo Diaz?
Well, I mean, actually, I think that the time is now. If he's going to make that fight.
I mean, November, October.
The time is now to make it happen. I don't want to say. I want to say now. I don't want to say next. I don't want to confuse the people in any kind of way. I want to say now. The time is now. They won the right to be in that position. Now it's time for him to step up and do what's the most noble and most honorable thing to do is back up all the shit that he's talking.
How do you think that fight plays out, Bill?
Devin putting on a hellacious ass whooping on him. He's a hell of a fighter, very talented individual, take nothing away from him, former Olympian, you know what I mean? Jojo Diaz is nothing to snuff over. He's at the top. He's at the top of the lightweight division with that win against Javier Fortuna. But when you talk about Devin, you talk about something that's totally different. You talk about not just a good fighter, you talk about a special fighter, one of the future greats, pound for pound.
And Bill, to move on to quickly to Richard Commey as well, because there's some talks there. First he calls out Devin, then Devin says, let's make a fight, let's make it happen. Then he says, well, you haven't sent me a contract, and all these kinds of talks going on. What have your thoughts been as you've watched that play out between your son and Richard Commey?
I've watched Richard Commey call out Devin, and when we say ask him what's happening, then Richard Commey is talking about that he's waiting to see what Lomachenko is going to do, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So, my thing is if you don't use his name for clout. If you don't want to make the fight happen, then you know what I mean. What is it to talk about?
What's the better? Not the better fight, because they're both good fighters. But which fight would you rather see happen, Richard Commey or Jojo Diaz?
Devin beats them all.
Yeah.
Devin beats them all, but they're all qualified and worthy opponents for Devin's next fight. And I have no criticism other than, you know, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. If it's Jojo Diaz, if you want to step up, rightfully so, for your position that you have. If not, you know what I mean, beat, move out the way.
Mm-hmm. You liking your chances getting one of those two guys though? Because, you know, it's not, they may be negotiating other fights, but they haven't been signed yet. So that obviously still leaves a lot of possibilities that either Commey instead of Lomachenko fights Devin Haney, or Jojo Diaz instead of Ryan Garcia fights Devin Haney. Do you feel confident your son's going to get one of those guys in the ring?
I'm confident with Devin and Devin's skill set against anyone, whoever we get in the ring, right? Period. I know what he brings. I know what he brings to the table. And if these guys wanted a piece of it, as much as we want a piece of theirs, you know what I mean, they would make the fight happen. You know what I mean? And I mean their fan base. We all bring different things to the table, but we all have hopefully a genuinely respect for the fans of Jojo Diaz, Richard Commey, and of course the Devin Haney fans.
And I was at that. Obviously, I was ringside at Linares. That was a lively crowd. That was a very healthy crowd in the Mandalay Bay Event Center, and that's not just kissing butt because Bill Haney's in front of me. He drew pretty damn good for a 21-year-old. You know,
absolutely
fighting his first marquee opponent in terms of the title defense. You know, so.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Devin did a great job against the quote-unquote test, and Jorge Linares, a veteran of 50 fights, you know what I mean, with probably the most knockout power in the lightweight division, right? One punch knockout power. Devin did extremely well against him, right? But now it's about time that, you know, that fight has happened, you know, and it's time to move on. The Jojo Diaz Javier Fortuna fight happened, you know what I mean, and you know now it's time for Jojo Diaz to either, you know what I mean, piss or get up off the pot, you know what I mean, and I'm looking for. Did you say you knew where Rolly Romero was at?
Well, that's what I was about to get to. What I see, we talked about you, not just about Devin. He says that you're the biggest liar in boxing, which would be saying, like, goddamn, that
right.
That can't be possible, can it?
It would be a total defamation of character when you talk about me being a liar at all. But what I have to say about that is you've said a lot of things, Mr. Romero. You've said a lot of things. Now is your opportunity to face Devin Haney and get a shot at this world title, right? When you should be thankful. You should be thankful to him to give you a shot. Don't downplay it. Don't say anything about for no one to pay attention, right? Don't start talking like a duck, right? Step up, back up your words, stop hiding. Where are you at?
Now I know Devin reached out to Floyd to talk about that fight. Was he receptive? Sounds like he would be willing to make a fight.
Absolutely. The only thing that I reported was what was reported to me is that Devin reached out to Floyd, and Floyd responded back and said that yes, they can make that fight happen. So here we are now, right? Have you seen Rolly?
Well, I mean, this is all, I just got home, so.
You just got home, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, normally he'd be talking right about now. I think yeah.
So it'll be, well, I mean, but that'd be a great fight. That'd be a great fight.
I agree. Two young studs with a heck of a lot to prove, with the weight of the world on their shoulders. You know, meeting up in Vegas for a showdown in the desert would be an excellent event.
Is there bad blood in that fight, to say the least, or you know, how do you feel about that, Bill?
Well, I mean, where's Rolly at? First, we have to make sure that he's okay, because we haven't heard from him. I'd hate to be saying something about a man that's missing, but now we need to make this fight happen. Enough talk. If that's what he wants to do, if he wants to back up everything that he said. Now, if he's not a man of his word, if he don't have the kahunas that most or all my Cuban compadres have, right? Because I respect Cuba, and I respect the La Finca program that turns out some of the great Cuban stars of boxing, right? But this Rolly Romero, is he Cubano?
Yes.
100%.
No, half. His mother is African American. His dad is Cuban. From Cuba.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Rolly, stand up. Stand up for everything that's right. If you got that blood in you, blood of a warrior, right? If you want to back up everything that you just said, come out the bushes.
What did you think of how he looked in that last fight against Anthony Egan?
He looks good enough to get his ass whooped by Devin. Come on out the bushes. I think that, you know, coming from a fight that he was being criticized to make the performance that he made, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. Take nothing away from Rolly and everything that he brings to the table. I know for sure, like you know, around here, he's knocking sparring partners out and shit around here, you know, on a regular. So, you know, we don't take him lightly, but we just definitely take everything that he says, you know, serious.
Is there, you know, shit happens in the gyms all the time, but did shit ever pop off between you guys? I've heard rumors, you know, Devin and him sparred before, and X amount of times, and
oh, absolutely.
It got heated after sometimes.
Absolutely,
and all that.
absolutely. Yeah. But it's no need for us to talk about the sparring.
Got you, Bill.
It's no need for us to talk about the sparring. It's enough. This fight is built up enough. We don't need to talk about that. He said enough of things that he had to say, right? So, you know, with that saying is, you know, let's make it happen. But if you don't, then shut up. Just shut up, man.